Hey, this is Gilgamesh. I want to talk about something that this whole idea of innocent until proven guilty. Do we apply that equally in this country? No. In the case of O.J. Simpson, people said he was guilty before he was even went to trial, and they still believe, even after he was acquitted, he still did it. And same thing with Michael Jackson. There are people other than his fans who know he didn't do it. There's people this day still think O.J. raped kids. And we have the same thing. Well, we have the whole thing with without waiting for the actual body cam footage, people saw the whole George Floyd thing, immediately jumped to the conclusion, murdered by Derek Chauvin. Well, if you watch the full body cam, you see what really happened. But Bill Cosby is another one. This day, even after it was obvious the prosecution violated the law, he's still considered a rapist by women that lied about rape. We have, time and time again. Look at the Duke, a perfect example. Duke lacrosse, and I watched Nico talk about this, and the woman at the center of it finally admits she lied. But did that matter at the time? Almost everybody, all these people went, oh my God, because of Title IX, you could not defend yourself against the accusation you were accused of rape. Paul Nagass went through this. He was the German foreign at the center of the Mattress Girl story. Go read up on it. But yeah, we say everybody's innocent until proven guilty, but we really don't believe in that. I've given you a few examples where people are accused of a crime, and some of them went to trial, proven innocent. Bill Cosby, his lawyers proved he didn't do it, yet he was still put in prison. And then when they threw it out because the prosecution violated the law, there's people who still think he's a rapist. That's why they've never re-prosecuted him, because they never had a case to begin with. But look, this whole innocent until proven guilty is a lie. We see what we want to see. We make prejudice based on pre-notions. You saw a snippet of a video, immediately he's guilty. We don't wait for the facts. When you see the whole thing, you go, oh, okay, so yeah, but we have not learned. A lot of people haven't. They still make these presumptions that Derek Chauvin had his knee on George Floyd's neck. Okay, George Floyd's on his stomach, in the full foot. He tossed him. Okay, let me explain. I'm not saying that Derek Chauvin, he would have been guilty of manslaughter, not murder, because murder is this. Did the cops intend to kill George Floyd? Of course not. Were they indifferent to the fact that he said that he couldn't breathe twice? Of course they were. This would be considered manslaughter, not murder. Murder has to show, in order to find someone guilty of murder, you have to show that they did something that they intended to kill George Floyd. No, they didn't. They were trying to do their job. I'm not defending the cops. I'm defending the fact that in this case, you have a guy who went to prison for broke into a woman's home and beat her so severely, it was considered a felony what he did. And he was in prison. He says in the full body cam footage, I was released from prison for having COVID. This is in 2020 when COVID started out and people were told that it was deadly and we all had to stay home. So George Floyd literally was let out of prison by Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota, because he had COVID. He's a violent felon. He beat a woman almost to death. So all the people defending George Floyd, he almost killed a woman, broke in her home, wanted drugs, money, and when she begged for help, he beat her with the pistol he had in his hand, almost killing her. So that's why he was in prison. If he was not released, he would still be alive. He's a drug addict. Drug addicts don't care about anyone but getting high. So when they show up, George Floyd, and the guy in the car was his drug dealer, what happens? He's in the car he's just consumed 3 times the lethal level of fentanyl. Three means 3 people could have died from the amount of fentanyl George Floyd had in his system. Then he took crystal meth. His drug dealer lied and said, I don't know what he took. Yeah, And he's freaking out because he doesn't want to go back to prison. He knows prison, he didn't want to be in prison. He was released. He might be going back to prison because he had a counterfeit. Because you look at previous encounters with police, he never acts like this. He's panicked because he knows he'll be back in prison. So he starts panicking, and while he just took a bunch of drugs, and the cops tap, and he's got his hands off the wheel, he's freaking, and I think it's Derek Chauvin, one of the cops pulls out his gun, holds it there, and tells him, put your hands on. As soon as he puts the gun away, he struggles to get the handcuffs on, and this is where called resisting arrest comes in. You don't have to fight the cops to be considered resisting arrest. The moment he's struggling to get the handcuffs, and he's actually making so he can't handcuff him, is resisting arrest. When they go to put him in the vehicle and he's telling him, I remember you, it's the other cop. Derek Chauvin standing right there. I think it's one of the other cops right there. He says, and Derek Chauvin doesn't recognize him, they said, I was released from prison for having COVID. So they go to put him in the vehicle. He does this and then he says, I'm not trying to resist getting in. So he was resisting going back to prison. So he's panicked. So he's already stressed out. They ask him straight up, are you on drugs? He says no. So he lies to them. So when they get him back in the vehicle, this is the first time he says, I can't breathe. So they offer to roll down the windows, turn on the air conditioner. They're trying to get him locked in so they can get him to jail. He said no. He pushed back the cop, goes and tosses himself on the sidewalk. They didn't put hands on him. Then they restrain him. This is what cops are trained when someone's out of control to calm them down, restrain him. Now, George Floyd is handcuffed on his stomach. His hands behind his back. People only saw a snippet where Derek Chauvin has his knee on his shoulder here. While he's got all this pressure on his shoulder, George Floyd's on his stomach by the exhaust. So he turns his head and he says, I can't breathe. Well, people didn't hear what happened next. Derek Chauvin says, if I let you up, what will you do? This shows this shows indifference. This is why he's guilty of manslaughter, because he refused to let him up when he said he couldn't breathe. That's an indifference, so he dies. That's different than what they charged him with, because they did not set out to, And I'm not, like I said, I'm not defending. This is the part of where everybody said, oh my God, he had his knee on his neck. This is his neck. The medical examiner said there was no asphyxiation, no strangulation to hear. His throat was fine. Even the one who, the family brought in to look him over, and by the way, they're going to re-examine George Floyd's heart. Yeah. I think this may be Derek Chauvin's lawyers. Now, Derek Chauvin never got a fair trial. He wasn't presumed to be innocent. Everybody said he killed him without waiting for the body cam footage to show what really led to why George Floyd ended up where he was. They all assumed, oh my God, the cops are police brutality, murder. Nobody waited. This is what I mean. By the equal presumption of innocent, we get this now with Luigi. I don't think he did it, but you have people saying that he's innocent until proven guilty. The state has to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt. Means their evidence has to prove there's no wiggle room. They have to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt he did it. Okay, but here's another case. P. Diddy. Yes, we have video. We've seen the video of him assaulting his then girlfriend. He lied about that. But the rest of it's all he's an accused. He has not been taken in front of a trial. He hasn't been charged. All these accusations are coming out. That's all they are. Accusations are not evidence. They have to show facts. So right now, P. Diddy's being accused of all these horrible things. They're still working on the case. Now we have Jay-Z. And here's where I'm going to defend Jay-Z. I don't like Jay. I'm not a big Jay-Z. I don't think he's that great of a rapper. But he's being accused by a woman who said when she was 13 that he raped her. Problem here is she never filed a criminal case, never went to the police, never reported it. And Jay-Z said, in New York, you don't have a statute of limitation on rape. So she could legally go to New York and demand Jay-Z be charged with rape, but she hasn't done that. That's why I have a hard time believing this one. And Jay-Z's right. He said, I didn't do it. Why hasn't she filed a criminal case? Because there is no case. This is cash. People are saying, there's something off about this. Because why has she not gone to the police? Even now. And the same thing with E. Jean Carroll. People, I don't believe women because too many times they lie about rape. I'm not saying all women, But we have a constant thing where a woman says, oh, it happened, and we're supposed to believe it with no evidence. We know Harvey Weinstein's a rapist, but his New York case reason it got overturned was the law says you can't have other people test, unlike California, where you can allow anybody to testify even if they're not the one that's filed a criminal case. In New York, it can only be the women that he was charged, that he's in the trial, can testify against. Problem for that is the defense did a great job exposing these women. One woman literally wrote a letter thanking Harvey Weinstein after she claimed he raped her. Not a very strong case in New York. That's why I said he might actually get, because his lawyer did a good job exposing a lot of lies in the prosecution's case. The California one doesn't matter. You can have as many people come in and testify. Doesn't matter whether they're telling the truth or not. It's easier to put someone in prison for not committing rape than it is to actually have to prove rape. That's the problem with, New York requires proof. You can't bring in other outside people no matter what they say. If they did not in New York file a case against Harvey, this is how it works. So, what I said, I don't believe Jay-Z's accuser because if she really was raped, she can still file a criminal case and bring Jay-Z to trial. He said this. Then why isn't she filed a criminal case? He's right. Without that, you have lawsuits are not a case. Civil lawsuits are kind of crap, unless they're medical ones. Mostly civil lawsuits, and I'll give you a perfect example. O.J. Simpson, acquitted on double murder. The Brown and Goldman family sued. They filed this lawsuit before the trial was even had. So when their day after he's acquitted and the evidence is literally could not be used, they go to court in a civil lawsuit. O.J.'s there. Ron Goldman's father testified and said, and was asked by the defense, do you have any proof O.J. did it? He goes, I don't need proof, I know he did it. Okay. The jurors found him liable for the murder based on no actual evidence. You had Nicole's sister do the same thing during the trial that she did in the trial, but there's no evidence. Showing a picture, it looked fake, like I said. But yet he's found liable. They said on preponderance of the evidence, there was no evidence. This is why he appealed the lawsuit and won. They tossed it out because the prosecution, the lawyers for the families never presented any evidence that O.J. did it. This is the problem with civil lawsuits. They don't prove anything. Bill Cosby gets sued. The woman who sues him in California changed her story multiple times about her age. Yes, did they go to the Playboy Mansion? Yes, but the thing is, you have to be invited. 2, you have to be an adult. She claimed she was underage. That would not work. So, and there's no proof that because there's cameras throughout the place to protect the women there from anything happening. So, this woman, it never happened. But yet, he didn't show up because he knew that he would never get a fair hearing. This woman was granted based on her, and even his lawyers point out she changed her story yet again, and yet the judge let go forward. That's why it was a BS lawsuit. Probably, I hope he appeals and it gets tossed out. Then, that's the thing. And the same thing with E. Jean Carroll. None of this happened. She did not get raped. She never filed a criminal. And how we know this, Bill de Blasio, when he was mayor, offered to have Trump prosecuted for rape. She goes, file a criminal case that Trump raped you. She refused. She even said multiple times, and said this to Cooper, I don't consider what Trump did to me as rape. Said that on the show. You can go watch it. It still exists. Same one where she said women have rape fantasies, and that's why she was thrown off. She literally said in her, if I remember right, that Trump was fully clothed, and they were both fully clothed, and he dry humped her. What? And the story has no video of this. Yes, they keep video going all the way back. They have to, just in case. So they have no evidence that this incident happened, and during the lawsuit, she was asked, did you get this from Law & Order SVU? Outright admitted it. Yes. It came from an episode, this whole story, bullshit story of hers, came from Law & Order SVU, where they had Kevin Pollak literally play Donald Trump. And how stupid this propaganda show is, they have the cops look at video from the store and go, ha, we got him. But in reality, there was no video of this supposed encounter. But what happens? Her lawsuit, which they changed the law in New York to allow her to file this lawsuit, was for rape. which, by the way, she even said never happened. But when the jurors come back and say, to ask I think they asked the judge, well, we're having trouble coming to, our the rape, we can't seem to decide on that. The judge literally said, go and find anything then to find him liable on. Not joking, this came out in the news, that the news reported that the judge in the case literally told the jurors, if you can't find him responsible, liable for the rape, then find him liable for anything. So the jurors came back with sexual battery, which is essentially, I think it's the same as sexual assault. You might have grabbed the woman. So no, they literally tossed out the rape claim, which should have tossed out the whole case, but the judge said, no, just find him guilty, find him responsible for anything. It's a civil lawsuit, it's not a trial. So that's why civil lawsuits are crap. So what happens? This rape survivor goes on to sit down, and this is why Donald Trump sued ABC and Disney, was in this interview with George Stephanopoulos, the woman at the center, the rape survivor, tells George Stephanopoulos called Trump a rapist, a convicted rapist. She said no, he was never tried for rape. She never filed it. This was a civil lawsuit. Then he goes, well, he was found liable for rape. She goes, no. The jurors actually found him liable for sexual battery. Not for, and George would not, he kept, and then she goes, you are undermining a rape survivor. I'm a rape survivor. And he goes, no, she goes, you're condescending and rape survivor. No, I'm not. This is a guy who worked for Bill Clinton when he was president, the man who admitted many years later, yes, he went to Epstein's Island 26 times as president and raped underage girls. Knowing he can't be prosecuted. So yes, Bill Clinton's a rapist. He admitted to it. Trump is not. Not in this case. I believe he went to Epstein's Island, not his island, to his apartment to have sex with underage girls. That's why he's a total shitbag Zionist. Yeah. So, we don't look at, it's like Kyle Rittenhouse. A lot of people said he murdered them too, but what they don't tell you is was in self-defense. One was an actual convicted child rapist. The bald-headed guy who was an actual convicted child rapist pointed a gun at Kyle and shot him and missed. Kyle shot him and killed him. And here was the thing. Is that it was in self-defense. Kyle would try to run away from this guy. This guy literally threatened to kill Kyle Rittenhouse. And it turns out he had dated women so he could violently, anally rape their little boys. Yes, this man deceived women so he could rape their preteen boys. He's a goddamn convicted pedophile rapist. Not just a pedophile, but an actual rapist. He forcefully, anally raped these little boys. The other guy was a skateboarder who had a history of abusing the women in his family, and he tried to kill Kyle Rittenhouse with a skateboard, which if you hit, depending on where you hit in the head, you can actually kill someone. So Kyle Rittenhouse also shot him in self-defense, but that's not what others said. They said, oh, this is murder. He murdered him. So that's what I'm saying. It's like the George Zimmerman, Trayvon Martin. They all went with, oh my God, this was stand your ground, when his lawyer said it was self-defense. Then it came out during the trial, it was self-defense. Trayvon Martin had lied in wait and knocked George to the ground, then pounded his head in the sidewalk and basically tried to kill him, and there was only one shot fired. And that's when the people who lived in the complex said they only heard one shot. They never heard a kid scream, as that fat girl said. She lied on the stand. She never had a record of Trayvon Martin calling her and begging for help. They heard one gunshot. It was in self-defense because Trayvon Martin was on top of George Zimmerman. He only shot once. That's why he was acquitted of murder. Now, Mike Brown Jr. tried to kill Darren Wilson. This was all proven by Obama's Justice Department, and the witnesses all said they saw when Darren Wilson showed up, he stopped. He never got a chance to do. He saw Mike Brown Jr. lunge in the car, punch Darren Wilson, try to get his gun to kill him. Then when he cornered him, when he turned around, he didn't get hands up, don't shoot crap. He came at him in an aggressive manner, and the witnesses all said Darren Wilson told him to get to the ground or he would be forced to shoot him. He shot him. He didn't stop until he put a bullet here. And he shot him in the front, not in the back as some jackass tried to lie about. And this is why when he talked to reporters, he said he seemed like the Hulk because every time he shot him, it didn't stop him. Yeah. And by the way, the new prosecutor said, I'm going to put him in prison, looked over and agreed with the findings that it was self-defense. That's why his mother couldn't sue. Yeah, that's not the same as Eric Garner. Eric Garner was actually killed by the police because when they put the sleeper on, the cop pulled back and it moves your arm, and he crushed Eric Garner's throat, and so he couldn't fully breathe. And he was morbidly obese. So when you put your diaphragm is what makes it look like you're actually your stomach when you're breathing. Looks like you're breathing through your stomach. That's the diaphragm. So when you're heavy, like I used to be 300 pounds. So I know it's like you have a hard time breathing because you can't get your diaphragm over. So with his throat crushed and the fact that he was on his stomach, Eric Garner could not get a breath in. That's why you hear him say before he expires, I can't breathe. It's not the same thing as George Floyd, who died of a heart attack from the drugs and was panicking, which caused his heart to speed up, caused him to have a massive heart attack, which had killed him. The panic going back to prison. There's a big difference. And yeah, so we have all these times where people are accused of things and people make they go, oh, look, P. Diddy must be guilty because all these accusations. Oh, they're building. It's like Danny Masterson. The guy didn't do it. All the women never once accused him of rape. Why was he being prosecuted? Because he left Scientology. There you go. It's like, what's her name that left, that was on King of Queens? They try to ruin her life. You know, if you leave Scientology, it's a goddamn cult that if you try to leave it, they'll go about ruining your life. And so yeah, this whole we believe in innocence until proven guilty is such horseshit. People do this all the time. They will make assumptions, not even based on facts, just what's reported by the news, and they don't research it, and they don't realize that maybe we're being lied to. People just take it as face value. Now you have people going, well, he is accused of shooting the CEO, while the media goes, oh, he's definitely the shooter. See, this is where people start to realize the media says things like this all the time with no proof. Like his lawyer said, who, by the way, Luigi's lawyer and the lawyer for P. Diddy, they're a married couple. Yeah, they're both defense attorneys. And he did a great job of saying that I have seen no proof that my client did this crime, which is true. And the thing is, I haven't seen it either. And the whole thing doesn't pass the piss test. It doesn't make sense. So I don't think he did it. But I also think they're going to have trouble be able to find a juror that are going to convict him. Because they're saying he's committed terrorism. What? Killing the CEO is not an act of terrorism. So stupid. Yeah. It's like Daniel Perry this is why they couldn't charge him. Daniel Perry could not be charged with murder because he didn't kill him. He restrained him. He didn't actually cut off his ability to breathe. He slowed down these. Right here, you have two blood vessels that bring blood to your brain. And basically, if you cut that off, you slow the brain down, you fall asleep. That's why it's known as the sleeper hold. He was alive when he let go of it. He got to the hospital and later died of a heart attack. So no. And, and that's why they couldn't find him guilty of even manslaughter or even involuntary, because there was no proof that Daniel Perry killed Jordan Neely. So his father's going to have a hard time proving it. This is the problem with presumption of innocence is BS in this country. It is. People come up with their own opinions before they even hear the evidence. Like, look, people were believing Donald Trump was this and this and this. Before this is how it works in America. People make their assumptions not based on facts, on feelings. And this is something that Nico House in his video I watched, his second video where he brought up about the Duke lacrosse team. He even admitted, I was biased against them. I believe they did it based on what was reported in the news. He didn't wait for all the facts or the fact that the police literally told the prosecutor that that she had lied. But the chief prosecutor, he was disbarred, and I think he may have gone to prison for what he did. But they dropped the case because the police caught her in a lie. And now she comes out and says it, oh, I lied about them raping me. Of course, this is the problem with presumption is we don't really truly believe in it. No, this is part of what being human is. We say we believe in the presumption of innocence, but we really don't. Everybody has their biases. Everybody they don't sit back and go, okay, maybe we need to give everyone a chance. I'll give you another one, Alec Baldwin. The whole thing there was, obviously he pulled the trigger, but he got away with it because the way the whole case was handled, you couldn't convict the guy. They screwed up from the beginning, this whole case. The way the gun was taken apart, that's why he couldn't be prosecuted. Some cases you'll never, and some people are innocent, but, go to prison for crimes they didn't commit, and then later we find out they actually didn't do it. Now, we have this whole presumed innocent until proven guilty. In Russia, it's guilty until you prove your innocence. So their legal system is different. That's why people go to prison a lot easier in Russia, because you as a defendant must prove you're innocent. Here, it's supposed to be prosecution supposed to prove their case. Like I said with Derek Chauvin, he didn't get a fair trial. The defense destroyed the prosecution's case. The jurors would have not, and from that alternate, they were already ready to find him not guilty. Derek Chauvin will walk free, but because of Maxine Waters, all the assholes outside screaming about they want him in prison, you had the BLM guy lying, get on the jurors, never prosecuted, by the way. He never got a fair trial. Keith Ellison failed to prove his case, and Derek Chauvin's in prison not because he was guilty or found guilty, it's because the system is corrupt. This is why January 6 people went to prison. This is why, you have so many people who get prosecuted, put in prison. This is why what happened to, Ichitelli and his, why the judge did not give them a prison sentence, because literally they didn't break the law. All they said that got this whole thing was they said Russia had a right to go into Ukraine. They didn't say they stand with Russia. They're socialists. They're communists. They're called the African People's Socialist Party. Yes, and they help in their community. They are basically, they go in and help the poor. So basically, the judge gave them probation, community service, and said, doing the very thing they already do. This whole prosecution should never have happened to Ichitelli. They did not violate any law. The only reason they were convicted was the jurors were terrified when the one black juror suddenly went missing. As Caleb has said, I forget his last name, but yeah, he has a YouTube channel. He pointed this out. The one reason they convicted was out of fear. They were afraid they might go to prison for failing to register as foreign. They're not foreign. They never have worked with Russia. But this is the problem with our legal system: is it's not innocent until proven guilty. It's the media doesn't care, and other people have their own opinions, and they toss them and they go, "Oh my God, this person must be guilty. Look, they've been arrested." P. Diddy's being accused of horrible crimes, but has he been arrested? Has been charged? Until he has his trial, and his conviction is when he gets sentenced. That's when you're actually convicted. When you're actually a convict, is the moment the judge sentences you prison. This is why when even after the trial's over, they give time for the defendant to appeal the being found guilty does not mean you're a convict. Only when you're sentenced to prison, then you're a convict. Then you're actually being truly convicted. The losing the case doesn't mean it's over. The appeals happen. This is why people saying, "Oh my God, Trump is a convicted felon," is BS. All those cases are being tossed out. Fannie, what's her name of Georgia, just got the case taken away for improprieties. The Florida case collapsed. They dropped it. All the other cases, he's going to win all these on appeal, including the lawsuit against E. Jean Carroll, because her fucking shit was bullshit. So he won't have any conviction, and they'll have to go, they'll have to apologize, just like they have been. They're kissing his ass because they don't want to be shut down. They want to keep getting that sweet government money, like that idiot Elon Musk. But yeah, innocence until proven guilty means everybody in this country has a right to a fair, speedy trial. That means, let's say Nick Cruz gets arrested for, let's say, murder, and they say the media says he did it. What proof do they have he did it? I'm using it as an example. I'm not saying that he's actually going to kill somebody. I don't believe he would, but it's like Sabby. Let's say Sabby kidnapped a man, tortured him, castrated him and everything, recorded it, and then she's arrested for it before her trial, and they say, yeah, she did all these things. We've seen the video. Here, she goes to trial, and she's acquitted. because the jurors don't believe the video, they believe it's fake. So she's acquitted, but then he goes, oh my God, this woman tortured a man, but she was acquitted. That means she didn't do the crime, according to the law. Just like with O.J. Simpson, just like Michael Jackson. When you go to trial, if you get a fair trial and you're acquitted, that means you did not do the case. State didn't prove their case. You are considered innocent. That's not how reality humans work. Our brains, we say, oh, innocent until proven guilty. That'd be like, Garland Nixon being arrested for running someone down with a car. I don't know if he has a car, but he goes and runs Scott Ritter down with his car. And Scott Ritter's laid up in the hospital and he's on life support. And they arrest Garland Nixon. I'm not saying this happened. Hypothetical. So he goes on trial. The jurors, hear the case. No evidence has been presented. Police haven't shown anything. Prosecutor, then the trial comes and they have this video that claims it's Garland Nixon driving the car and he runs Scott Ritter down. I wouldn't know why he would do it, but the jurors don't believe it. Even when they show that clearly it's him and let's say hypothetically he put a video saying, yeah, I ran down Scott Ritter because he's a da-da-da and all this stuff, and it's like, yet they hear that and they still acquit him of running down Scott Ritter. It happens, but I'm saying, until you're actually sentenced, you're not convicted, you're innocent until the state can prove their case. This is why I bring these examples up. This would be like Judge Andrew Napolitano, let's say, taking Larry Johnson and stabbing him to death, that it's all on video, and people see it and go, oh my God, he stabbed him. He's still presumed innocent until the case happens. That's why seeing someone stabbing someone isn't the same as him going to trial and the jurors going, okay, yeah, we've seen the video. That's the only evidence they have is the video of, and someone goes, well, that video's fake. So he goes to trial. They show the video to the courtroom. The courtroom goes, oh my God, they're gasped. And they go in the jury room after the prosecution and defense, and the defense just says that video's fake. My client didn't do it. And, Larry Johnson, can't remember because he has, short term, he lost his short term. So they go in the back and the one juror says, I believe the video's fake. I don't think he did it. And they come back with, we had to acquit because all the prosecutors, when they go, yeah, we can't believe the video, it's fake. And so they acquit him, and the hilarious thing is he goes outside and says, yeah, I actually stabbed him. You can't prosecute him again for it. That would be kind of funny, that if you go to trial and you're acquitted, that you go outside and you admit you committed the crime. They can't try you again. It's called double jeopardy. You admitted to. It's like, if O.J., after he was acquitted of dumb murder, went out there and said, yeah, I killed those two. I killed that bitch, but he didn't. He said, no, he said, I'll spend the rest of my life looking for the killers like the police look for the killers. It's this whole thing. We should give everybody, no matter what we see, even a cop with his knee on the guy's shoulder and he dies in police custody, we should always assume that we don't know all the facts. And never assume what you see is the truth. Because we can always be lied to. It's easy to fake video. Deep fakes are real. You can AI the shit out of things. You can make someone look like they did. You can make Garland Nixon look like he went up to Trump and cut his head off. And that Garland Nixon wasn't even there. And that's what I'm saying. When you see video, don't always believe what you see it. Because that video could be fake. I'm not saying that but when you see the actual video, seeing things more in context can make you go, oh, okay. Always believe someone's innocent until proven guilt, not just proven guilt, until they're sentenced. When they lose, they always have the appeal process. I don't know what's going on with Derek Chauvin. I know he was stabbed in prison, but this is the whole idea that everybody's given the benefit of you're innocent. We don't fucking really believe in that. You might say it about Luigi. We have no proof he did it. But the same people would sit there and go, Michael Jackson raped those kids, even though there was no proof he did it. Same thing with O.J. Simpson. There's people this day still think O.J. killed his ex-wife and Ron Goldman. Doesn't matter that he was acquitted. Same thing here. The point is, you have to put your biases, if you truly believe in the idea that everybody's innocent, and you got to then take a step back and go, okay, Derek Chauvin did not get a fair trial. His verdict was not based on evidence, based on fear, based on lies. So if you really are objective, then you have to step back and go, okay, Derek Chauvin deserves a new trial because he deserves a fair trial. And that's the problem. If you truly believe in the idea of it, that innocent until proven guilty, there's no way for Derek Chauvin to win. Whether you believe he did it or didn't do it, he didn't get the fair trial. That's what the problem with saying that somebody's in prison is innocent. No. Now, I hear people say this guy who shot the father out and stole his car didn't do it. He did do it. His own girlfriend testified. I followed that trial. He was found guilty. His appeal, he tried to claim this. The daughter never forgot this guy was the one that shot her father because he looked at her, he smiled, turned, and shot her father in the back of the head and was caught. And by the way, they were caught on video, their faces, in the vehicle. He tried to blame his accomplice. After they couldn't get rid of the car, and his girlfriend, who still stands by what she said, and they tried to have her killed, stands by what she heard when she was in the apartment with her boyfriend and the guy that they were bragging what they did. They killed this guy and they stole his car. Yeah, that guy did it. But, it's just like the guy who raped and murdered that woman, strangled her, raped her. His family tried to lie, but the fact was he was a convicted rapist whose DNA was found inside the victim, tried to blame the fiance, couldn't have done it. See, that's the thing. Don't wait for all the, in his appeals, he never won because, and that's the thing. Never, see, this whole thing with the idea of somebody's innocent until proven guilty is horseshit. We all have our own biases, our own opinion, and we will never agree. This is like the thing with Derek Chauvin. You believe in it, then take a look, really look back at the body cam footage and say, did Derek Chauvin really, was his knee on his neck or was it on his shoulder? As if in the video. Did he really kill George Floyd, what the murder charge was, which would mean he meant to kill George Floyd, or would he been charged with the lesser crime of manslaughter, which is, if you look at the fact that the indifference he had to George Floyd saying, I can't breathe, that makes it manslaughter, not murder. And that's if you're being objective. Just like with Bill Cosby, can you really try, if you look back at the transcript of the trial when Janice Dickinson admits she lied to sell a book, you have to look at the fact, did Bill Cosby really rape these women? No. Just like Michael Jackson, he didn't do it. You have to pull your opinion and follow things objectively. But people can't do that. That's who we are. We are people that make assumptions without even trying. So that's the whole thing, this idea that somebody is innocent and proven guilty. We'll say that about Luigi, but people still say, oh, Derek Chauvin had his knee on his neck without looking at the body cam footage. Go look at it. The cops in Tony Timpa murdered him and got away with it. They got away with murder, even when the medical examiner said, 3 of them said it was murder. They wouldn't testify. So we have biases. We have prejudice. We have opinions. Everybody has an opinion. It's like an asshole. Everybody makes their mind up without even thinking twice, without pulling back and going, okay, put my personal feelings aside. Let me look at this objectively. And then when you do, you go, wow, I missed something here. That's what, when you look at Derek Chauvin's case, follow the trial. There was no way that Keith Ellison proved his case. When you have a juror admit that we were terrified to not find him guilty, she literally says this in an interview that we were terrified of what they were, because they were allowed to see what was happening with the media and Maxine Waters and all this. They were terrified. That's why they convict him, not based on Keith Ellison's fucking stupid case that he never proved. That's the problem with our justice system. We don't have a fair system. It doesn't matter if you believe Derek Chauvin did it or not. You didn't give him a fair trial. You hung him without giving him the ability to truly prove if he actually let his legal team prove his case. The prosecution didn't prove their case. Defense destroyed the prosecution case, but yet he's in prison. That's because we don't have a fair system. It's not fair. We know Alec Baldwin killed Helena Hutchins. We know he did that. Is he in prison? No, he's walking free. Do you understand? Our our legal system does not benefit everyone. Even a cop like Derek Chauvin deserves a fair fucking trial. And anybody who says otherwise, then you don't believe in the idea of everybody's equal under the law. It doesn't matter if you're rich, poor, whatever, black or white. Everybody deserves the same treatment under law. Then Derek Chauvin should be given a new trial, and throughout that can release him from prison, let him go through a new trial. But you ain't gonna do that because you're biased against this cop. I don't like the police, but I always believe everybody deserves a fair trial. Everybody does. I don't care who you are. And I mean, yeah. So this is Gilgamesh. I will talk to you later. Bye.